Investigate both sides of the argument, come up with your own conclusions.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dramatic public warning, Chinese hackers. Yeah, so fifth generational warfare, what Doc always talking about. Wars aren't fought like traditionally anymore. They always upgrade anyway. So if you know the history of World War One and World War Two, they were fought very differently. They started World War Two very similar to World War One, and then that's when Germany did the Blitzkrieg, and freaking the traditional warfare was all the way out the picture and wasn't going to work. War revolutionized multiple times during World War II, I would say, because at the beginning it was a certain way, and then you had, which was kind of similar to World War One, with the like trench warfare where they lined up in the lines or whatever, and they just kind of shoot each other, and that was kind of like how warfare had been for a long time too, because even before guns, that's way that they did war, but they just changed it to guns and tanks, but it was still the same thing where they lined up and just kind of shot at each other. And they added the trenches because they couldn't see, so they couldn't shoot you or whatever. But you stick your head up out of the trench and whatever. So then that's what caused those like points where there was no advancement, and they would just be like, trying to advance inches, and lots of people would die as a result of just trying to get some inches of forward movement, and that was silly. It was stupid, and it evolved. Like I said, in World War II, in the way Germany was doing their thing, and they was like, "We're just gonna smash y'all. We're just gonna come in and take over really quickly with air support, and with like we would take over land immediately because we would have protection on both sides as we did our uh, forward approach, and we cover the attackers with soldiers on the sides and with air support. So, boom, real fast, they take over that particular land and they just keep on moving. And it's before the enemy has a chance to make adjustments, they've already taken the city. So that was the way that they did that. But then war evolved more times. And by the end of World War II, you had the nuclear bomb at play where you could just blow up a whole freaking city from another side of the world without having any of your troops even at risk, really, other than the people who were flying the planes. But so only a few guys at risk threatening a whole town. So yeah, that's changed. So, but now war has evolved again, and now it's like informational warfare, and it's hacking, it's controlling financial institutions, and infiltrating financial institutions and putting like spies in there and stuff. Controlling the money, and hacking into sensitive information and stealing that data and using that data against your enemy, stuff like that. So yeah, that's this, and people are worried about a World War III. I think it's already has begun, but we can't even see it for that, and it won't look like any previous wars ever, because you got these. It's more spy versus spy. It's spyware, and one of the highest paid jobs that's really blowing up is what do they call it? It's security. It's data security, whatever it's called, data security. I can't think of the proper term for it, but basically you go in and you build softwares to keep out hackers or whatever, and being able to secure sensitive information and keep people from, and then assessing threats and determining where the threats came from or whatever. I was watching a video where they was talking about how the people who know how to read code, they find like a loophole in the code that allows them to do something or whatever. And a lot of times they won't even use the hack; they'll sell it. So to someone else that's interested in it, that may use it or whatever, or maybe they might just keep the information for themselves and not use it, but make sure that all of their software doesn't have that issue in its code. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Hey, I ain't no freaking expert when it comes to that area. But I understand it enough because I've read some stuff about it. So I understand it, but I'm not the guy that's reading code or writing code for that matter. Sure. Sharing. Give me a second. I thought I was sharing. Am I losing y'all? Oh, damn it. I feel like I'm losing y'all. We won't stay long on this. I need a breath break anyways. That's why I'm doing this.
FBI Director Christopher Wray sounding the alarm over China. Let's listen.
Threaten American safety and prosperity. Before I go on, I do want to make very clear that my comments today are not about the Chinese people, and certainly not about Chinese Americans who contribute much to our country and are frankly often the victims of Chinese Communist Party aggression themselves. Rather, when I talk about the threat posed by China, I mean the government of China, in particular led by the CCP. The CCP's dangerous actions, China's multi-pronged assault on our national and economic security, make it the defining threat of our generation. Now, when I described the CCP as a threat to American safety a moment ago, I meant that quite literally. There has been far too little public focus on the fact that PRC hackers are targeting our critical infrastructure, our water treatment plants, our electrical grid, our oil and natural gas pipelines, our transportation systems, and the risk that poses to every American requires our attention now. China's hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities if and when China decides the time has come to strike. They're not focused just on political and military targets. We can see from where they position themselves across civilian infrastructure that low blows aren't just a possibility in the event of a conflict. Low blows against civilians are part of China's plan. But the PRC's cyber onslaught goes way beyond pre-positioning for future conflict. Today, and literally every day, they're actively attacking our economic security, engaging in wholesale theft of our innovation and our personal and corporate data. Nor is cyber the only PRC threat we face. The PRC cyber threat is made vastly more dangerous by the way they knit cyber into a whole of government campaign against us. They recruit human sources to target our businesses, using insiders to steal the same kinds of innovation and data that their hackers are targeting, while also engaging in corporate deception, hiding Beijing's hand in transactions, joint ventures, and investments to do the same. And they don't just hit our security and economy, they target our freedoms, reaching inside our borders across America to silence, coerce, and threaten some of our citizens and residents. But I can assure you the FBI is laser focused on the threat posed by Beijing. We've got cyber, counterintelligence, criminal, and WMD experts, just to name a few, defending against it. And we're working in partnership with the private sector, partnership with our allies abroad, and partnership at all levels of the U.S. government, especially the NSA, Cyber Command, CISA, and ONCD, whose leaders I'm honored to be here with today.
Cybersecurity. That was the phrase I was looking for. That's what you call it, cybersecurity. Because I was looking at that shit, and I talked to a guy who went to school for whatever, and he said that Houston market is saturated, but maybe he was saying it because he didn't want nobody else to go to school for it or whatever. I don't know, but A lot of people are. It's a very high paying job. Um, I'm sure there's entry level positions, but once you get going, if you can get on at a big company, they're going to pay you a lot of money for that particular title, that job. So, but if they're saying that China is doing this, do you think Russia's doing this? How about Israel? Maybe Iran? Maybe the United States? Maybe Mexico? Who all had who? The question you would ask would be, who has the capabilities to do this? You know, who has the people, the hardware, the funds to do stuff like this? So, whatever country or even corporation has the tools and to do this, you could pretty much bet that they are doing this. Okay. And a lot of the evidence is there when you look at who the people are in certain positions or whatever. Like I was watching a video, this dude was breaking down the jobs that these people who are NSA and the spooks, the and jobs like positions they have on a board of a company and stuff like that. So then it's like, why the hell would would a CIA agent want to be on the board of directors of this company or whatever? You know what I mean? Like that's just things to make you go, hmm. And the guy was breaking down the connections between some of these people, because if you're an undercover CIA agent, would you have the label of CIA agent and be on the board of directors of a certain company? Or would you come on as the board of directors of a company as a regular Joe Schmo, you know? And your affiliation with the CIA would be covert or whatever. It wouldn't be public knowledge, right? So again, what I'm saying is fifth generational warfare, and that World War III has already it's already happening. And so if you want to understand, then you look at who are the allies, who are the people that are working together, okay, globally, if it be corporations or governments, and then you can see who would be attacking who through this cyber type of way. You know what I mean? And then that will start. And then if you look at it that way, then you can start seeing evidence of the warfare already happening, because there's evidence of it. Like there's actions that has been happening, people getting hacked or whatever, like different random stuff. Like that time they arrested that Chinese lady who was here in the States, and she was like a CEO of a company. And it was like, why the hell they arrest her? And it had to do with microchips, and specifically having to do with microchips. Anyways, let's play some more of this.
Today. In fact, just this morning, we announced an operation where we and our partners identified hundreds of routers that had been taken over by the PRC-sponsored hacking group known as Volt Typhoon. The Volt Typhoon malware enabled China to hide, among other things, pre-operational reconnaissance and network exploitation against critical infrastructure like our communications, energy, transportation, and water sectors. Steps China was taking, in other words, to find and prepare to destroy or degrade the civilian critical infrastructure that keeps us safe and prosperous. And let's be clear, cyber threats to our critical infrastructure represent real-world threats to our physical safety. So, working with our partners, the FBI ran a court-authorized on-network operation to shut down Volt Typhoon and the access it enabled. Now, this operation was an important step, but there's a whole lot more to do, and we need your help to do it. To quantify what we're up against, the PRC has a bigger hacking program than that of every major nation combined. In fact, if you took every single one of the FBI's cyber agents and intelligence analysts and focused them exclusively on the China threat, China's hackers would still outnumber FBI cyber personnel by at least 50-1.
Damn. Okay. So, what I think about when I hear him talking is I'm like, okay, United States gets angry, China is doing whatever China is doing, and then they decide to do something like drop a bomb on a city or something. And then China's like, okay, you're gonna drop a bomb on one of our cities. Cool. We're gonna turn off the internet on the whole United States. We're not gonna drop a bomb back on y'all. That's too risky to our people. So, it's all about, I saw a whole documentary about killing from afar. Really interesting. I can't think of what the name of it was right now, but it was really, really good. And it was talking about like the evolution of war and weapons and stuff like that. And it was talking about killing from afar, with no threat to yourself and still being able to threat others. And so then, like I say, the bomb, and you still got the fighter jets that, the planes that have to fly, they could possibly get shot down or whatever. But somebody who's in their basement on the computer with the ability to turn off the internet to a whole country, that's some from afar effect right there. And then you can indirectly, what do you think would happen if the internet went off in the United States, like from East Coast to West Coast, and it didn't come back on for weeks, months, a year? What do you think would happen as a result of that? Total collapse, total societal collapse. Okay, you'd have some people with access to the internet, but it won't be like it is now. Only like the hackers will be able to get on the internet, and everybody else will be screwed, even the companies. What the hell would happen as a result of that? Think about that. Now that would be way more catastrophic than dropping a bomb on a city, because that could bring a whole country to not exist no more. Like really, the people go bonkers.
So as we sit here, while important budget discussions are underway, I will note that this is a time to be keeping ahead of the threat by investing in capabilities. We need to ensure that we sustain and build on the gains that we've made that have enabled us to take actions like the Volt Typhoon operation I just mentioned. The budgets that emerge from discussions underway now will dictate what kind of resources we have ready in 2027, a year that, as this committee knows all too well, the CCP has circled on its calendar. And that year will be on us before you know it. As I've described, the PRC is already today putting their pieces in place. I do not want those watching today to think we can't protect ourselves. But I do want the American people to know that we cannot afford to sleep on this danger. As a government and a society, we've got to remain vigilant and actively defend against the threat that Beijing poses. Otherwise, China has shown it will make us pay. Thank you. I look forward to today's discussion.
Thank you, sir. Director Coker, you're recognized for your opening statement.
Yeah, I wonder why the focus is on China. I think that's a question to ask. Like I say, I don't think that there are other countries that can't. Maybe it's just because the China's capabilities are so vast. Is that the reason why they're focusing on China? Because they're the number one, like big boss hog on the block when it comes to this stuff. So, but I'm willing to bet that other countries have a lot of capabilities too. And I don't think that just the number of agents you have is going to have that much impact on what you actually can get done, because one hacker can do a lot of damage. Let's move on. Wait, let's see. Is there any comments worth the crap? CNN says FBI Director Christopher Wray warned that Chinese hackers are preparing to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to the U.S. Scary. I'm going to scare you. It's all about scariness. What's the scariest thing I can say? They're coming for you in your house. They're going to get you. They're going to hack into your phone and watch you while you're sleeping. It says you allowed this to slowly creep up, and now it's everywhere. Backdoors in every technological device, database, infrastructure to be activated at will. And who still thinks cybersecurity is not important? That's why cybersecurity, like I say, that's the future. That's like the big dog job, you know. So if you're young out there, you think about what job you want to do, cybersecurity might be a good idea. And he says backdoors in every technological device, database, infrastructure to be activated at will. That is kind of scary, I ain't gonna lie. And it's like all the different apps, and you don't know which app it is. So what if like China, like they have TikTok, you know, and they've been talking about scariness related to TikTok, but it's downloaded on a lot of devices. So let's say they could use TikTok somehow to get into whatever system. So some person could not be logged into the hardware of a company, but they have TikTok downloaded on their phone, and they're in the room. They're in the room where there's a server there that does have access to some sensitive data. And, you know, if the app is on all the time, even when you're not on the app, who's to say that they can't use that? Like, what do I know? Again, I'm just a guy and I don't know exactly how everything works, but I know that if you're on the same network, if you're on the same like Wi-Fi network, like, and your phone automatically, like you go to a company all the time, so you've logged on to their Wi-Fi before. So when you walk in the door, all of us always, most of us have our Wi-Fi and our Bluetooth active all the time. And when we go somewhere that we've been before, our devices automatically log on to that available Wi-Fi that's in that building. This is most of us. I know I'm that way. I'm sure a lot of people are that way. People that are technological, you know, who deal with devices a lot, going through the chore of turning your Bluetooth off and turning your Wi-Fi deal off all the time. Sometimes I do turn them off. I do. But most of the time, most of the time, you're not even going to remember to think about that type of deal. So it's going to be doing it by itself. You walk into the building, you've logged onto the Wi-Fi of that building. Now, when it says unsecured network, that's what it says on the thing every damn time, because those kind of Wi-Fis are always open like that. They'll have a secured Wi-Fi in that building, but they're going to also have an unsecured Wi-Fi in that building. And like I said, you walk in, your device logs on, you have TikTok downloaded on your phone. The hacker has access to that Wi-Fi network now through your phone. Comment says, I applaud that level of directness. It says, I'm glad he clarified at the beginning so the wrong people don't become targets. Yeah, he did say, you know, I'm not talking about the American people. And I like those words. And I think that we really need to think about that, because governments doesn't necessarily align with their people all the time. Just ask yourself, are you a fan of Biden? Are you a Biden fan? Do you align with the things that Biden is doing? How would you feel if someone from another country held you accountable for the things that your president is doing, and they automatically feel like you're aligned with his views because you're a citizen of the country, and the majority of the people in the country voted for this guy to get him to be in office? So you obviously support this guy. So if we attack you as a result of the stuff that he's doing, then we feel justified. So how do you feel about that? You know, do you accept that? Do you agree with that? Do you, you know, will you stand on the hill with Biden and fight to the death? You know, so then how are you going to hold other countries, peoples in that same light? That's not fair, you know. And leads me to the idea of the whole Hamas Israel war, because there goes them justifying attacking those people because they're saying that they align with Hamas. That's not fair to those people. All of those people align with Hamas. The babies, the ones that were just born yesterday, they align with Hamas. That's not logical thinking. That's an excuse to be horrible. It says, just like the movie Leave the World Behind, it's pretty frightening to know that even with a $1 trillion military budget, our government is so corrupt that a foreign enemy can disable us wherever they desire. I don't know if that's necessarily a result of corruption, because I think, not to say that our government is not corrupt, because I'm not saying that. Absolutely not saying that. But I'm saying that it may not have anything to do with corruption. The government could possibly be straight legit and still will be at the mercy of these hackers, you know. And like I said, we're in fifth generational warfare, so your $1 trillion military budget is a waste of fucking money. You know, you should have spent a fraction of that money on some kids in their basement and taught them how to read code, you know, or just taught the whole nation how to read code, and then pick out the best out of the bunch and use them, you know. And that's where China has the advantage over us, because I bet you there's way more people in China that know how to read code than people in the United States that know how to read code. And then we're supporting our government, spending all of this money. We have this bloated military budget I'll be talking about on every damn show, and it's a waste of fucking money. And this is an example of it right here. You buy that new billion-dollar fighter jet, and it's obsolete and useless. And then you know it, and you don't really care, because you're just making money for your friends and family, and you cashing in and leaving out the back door with the bag, and you don't care about the safety of the American people, really. You know that this money isn't going to keep us safe. Another comment says, it's a sad day when the FBI director has to talk to Congress like they're small children just to get his point across. Another one that says, does the fear instilled in people determine the size of the budget? Maybe it does. Maybe there might be something to that. Let me copy this comment. There just might be something to that. Every other damn news story is something like scaring the shit out of everyone. Like, we're scared shitless. Oh my God, China is going to hack into your coffee maker and make it turn into a robot and kill you. Like, no. There's a threat that's actually real, but, you know, like, covering this for what? You know, this whole story, you know, what is the point of this story? Is them talking about it in Congress going to actually cause the situation to improve some kind of way? Like, what? You need to hire more freaking spies that know how to read code. Is you talking the way you're talking in Congress going to allow? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Congress will use the power of the purse and spend some money on hiring some kids to freaking read code. But I don't think that's the point of this. I think the point of this is to scare the shit out of the people who's watching. The more scared you are, the more you're going to be looking for that strong man to come along. It's all connected. It says, it's a sad day when the FBI director has to talk to Congress. I read that. It says, Americans better wake up to what's important. Yeah, stop freaking with the culture wars. Stop with the partisan politics. Stop with the you know, I don't know, like the random ass conspiracy theories, and freaking look at the facts. There is scary stuff out here, but it's not Taylor Swift has a psyop with the NFL rigging the football game and the election all at the same time. Like, I mean, I think a lot of times with these conspiracy theories, you give people way too much credit. Like these people aren't that powerful, bro. Like they can't do magic. It's Biliamus. It says as soon as who works in IT industry, the as someone who why can't I read today? As someone who works in the IT industry, the problem with civilian infrastructure are companies who refuse to bring their infrastructure to the level up to the level needed for security. Putting a high priority on IT infrastructure and expertise should be a priority over profits at this time. Unfortunately, smaller businesses in small towns will respond reactively, possibly without power or running water. So, yeah, so he's saying, these companies aren't willing to spend the money to get their stuff secured so that it can't be hacked and taken over. You know, they probably, a lot of them don't, municipalities don't even have the money. I'm sure if like these smaller towns, they literally don't have the money to do it. They can't do it. So they're going to be vulnerable. And that's just it. And a lot of these, you got these municipalities throughout the country. You have this infrastructure throughout the country. And without clean water, bro, you screwed. Like, you screwed. If your waste treatment plant shut down, you're screwed. If your electrical grid shuts down, you're screwed. It says, while cybersecurity is important, my main concern is China bribing corrupt American politicians and knowing that the matter is being covered up. Another one that says, 0 reasons for our infrastructure to be connected to the global network. And the way things are, they want you to hook everything. They want to hook your refrigerator up to the global network. Like, they want you to hook up your freaking clock to the global network. And I don't know that stuff is really necessary. They want you to hook your thermostat up to the global network. Like, there are advantages. I saw this clip where the people was using the Ring camera, and the guy comes to his house, and he's looking for him. He's like, "Where you at, brother?" He's like, "I'm not there right now. I'm at such and such and such. I'll be here in a little while or whatever." He's like, "Well, come back, brother." Like, I think that's really cool to be able to talk to someone that's at your front door and you're not even in your house. Like, if you didn't tell them that you wasn't there, how would they know that you're not there? And that would have to do with safety and security and stuff. Like, that's some cool ass shit. I ain't gonna lie. But I don't see the advantage of having my toaster or my refrigerator connected to the internet. Like, so our conveniences are our Achilles heel. And that's what's going to take us out. We want those Amazon packages overnight. We want that. We need that. This is our Achilles heel. This is the way they're going to get us. Because if anybody wants to get us, they can use that against us. Because we just got to have that ultimate convenience. We couldn't possibly wait 2 or 3 days for that package. That's way too long. Another comment says, as a trucker and trainer, I teach my students to use a map and proper paper logs. We don't need GPS or ELD. Matter of fact, in an emergency like COVID-19, DOT can give the truckers the ability to void the logs in time of a national security. Us truckers will keep rolling. Yeah, I think that we do. And they stopped teaching the kids all of this stuff that's like that, like the maps, like using an actual map. Like, I'm sure my kids wouldn't know how to open up a map and like track and figure out where they are on the map and stuff like that. Like, I don't think they will be able to do it. I really don't. And I think there's plenty of people across the nation who don't know how to do stuff like that. And the ones that have grown up and like, I'm older. I remember when the internet came out. I remember when the internet wasn't a thing. And I remember the things that we did before the internet. I clearly remember it. I was an adult when the internet actually came out, really came out. And, so we did things without the internet. It was harder. It took more time or whatever, but it could be done. But I think that a lot of us now can't imagine doing things without the internet. Like they literally can't do it. They wouldn't be able to do it. Like they haven't been taught. They don't know how to do the stuff by the paper. Like they don't know how to do it. So if the internet goes out, they're literally going to be lost. Like you have people like going to be lost, literally lost. Which way do I go, George? Which way do we go, George? Which way do we go? George don't even know. Comment says, he said we're outnumbered 50-1. Our cyber defense needs tons more funding. Oh my God. Another one that says, it's amazing in America. It has become so political that he has to child explain why China is an actual threat and not some political ploy. Another one says, I can understand why everything now has to depend solely on the internet, computers, etc. Essential services should be backed up by the old analog technology, like in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. I agree with that. And I think that is the case probably in like big major cities and, infrastructure that is really critical. I know they're not so stupid to not have backups for some of this stuff, So like if they was to hack in some water systems or some electrical systems, I think we would have backups for that. The one that I said though was that if they turned the internet off. Now, I don't know that they could actually do that, but Yemen and them were talking about cutting the cords. They said if you do some bombing, they do something or whatever, we're gonna cut the fiber optic cord that's going underneath the ocean. And it's like, so the hack maybe could be that, you could turn off the internet that way, some kind of way, because those things, I know that we have the satellites, but a lot of the stuff still relies on those fiber optic cables, those hard lines. We use a lot of the, what do they call it, broadband? I'm getting them mixed up, but the ones where you have to plug the internet up into the wall. A lot of us have our Wi-Fi boxes in our house, right? But we still have to plug it into the wall. It's still plugged in. That's how mine is. I have Xfinity, so maybe that's why. I know that they have the satellite ones, but I'm just saying a lot of the infrastructure relies on those hard lines still. Another comment says, we need a new Congress focused on infrastructure now. This is crazy. Yes, I'm gonna highlight this comment too. Yeah, infrastructure needs to be a focus, but whenever they talk about infrastructure, they start saying that we don't have the money. Like we have these old ass water pipes that should have been replaced back in like the 1970s or some shit, like, or earlier. And we still have those same pipes and they don't want to spend their money. It's a massive amount of money. It's a ridiculous amount of money to do it. But it needs to be done. It needs to be done. So you're going to have to pull the money out of your ass and fucking make it happen. But you got all this money you can send to Ukraine or to Israel, to this bloated ass military budget that's useless. But you don't want to spend the money on the infrastructure, what you actually need. Like you literally need this. Like at some point, you've had infrastructures like the water systems collapsing and malfunctioning left and right across the nation. It's not a small problem. And then the other thing is related to like the cars. There's too many cars on the road, and the freeways I don't think is the answer. So I'm saying mass transit is the answer. So another part of the infrastructure needs to be with the high-speed trains, not only with moving passengers around, but also with moving around goods. And then I rely on Amazon wouldn't be the same, but then too, Amazon would probably get in on the game and own the damn trains. That's, if I was Amazon, that's what I would do. But yeah, so we use trains and we use trucks, but we still have these old ass tracks and we still have these old ass trains and they still move all slow. Like we need to have fucking updated trains in this country, and that's gonna cost an ungodly amount of money, but it needs to be done. It needs to be done. You find the money. Stop spending money on stupid stuff. We're all gonna benefit from it. We can get them packages fast still. They'll come on the train. We need to be locally self-sufficient. You know, a lot of the stuff that's coming from Amazon is coming on the plane from China. We don't manufacture a damn thing here. We can that's the other part of the infrastructure. We can build manufacturing plants. It's not that, it's like we were talking about in the show how the education system is training people to work in the plant and the plants don't exist. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. We do need stuff. Stuff still needs to be made. You know, it's just different stuff now. But you can have these manufacturing plants here in the United States making stuff and putting that stuff on the trains and getting it across the country in a short amount of time. If we do have like a live war situation, that's what's going to happen, because we won't be able to get our stuff from China. The planes aren't going to be able to fly like that, you know, and we'll have to manufacture shit here. So do it now. What are we waiting for? Me on the soapbox, huh? Chaka, you're on your soapbox, preaching that liberal bullshit. Nobody wants to hear that shit. What about those immigrants? What about the southern border? What about that? What about Biden's mumbling and not being able to complete a sentence? What about that? What about Taylor Swift? What about that? All that serious, important stuff you're talking about, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. What about the LGBTQ community? What about the books in my schools? An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active.